Hey everyone, Caleb with Antique Book Collective, and today I'm getting to you guys with reseller rule number 7. So yes, I do pull these numbers out of my butt, but guys, this reseller rule is don't be afraid to swing for the fences. Guys, let's face it, a lot of us will deal with a lot of lower end books. That's fine. That is a big part of business. That's how we get the reviews. That's how we get get our things down. It's how we figure out the business, really. I mean, you're not going to find $1 million books every single time, but sometimes you are going to find those books that are worth a whole lot more than the other books that you guys oftentimes see. So guys, as such, I want you to not be afraid to swing for the fences. I want you guys to not be afraid of buying those really, really cool books that you know will sell for a very good markup. Now, I'm not saying that you should spend $1,000 on this book and risk your entire business purchasing it, but at the same time, potentially that could be worth doing. You guys honestly should do what you want to do. For me, I don't like spending too much for a book. For me, too much for a book is like $10 per book, maybe somewhere in there, unless if I know for a fact that I'll be able to sell it for say $1,000, or if I'm paying $10 for a book, I might want to make just at least $500 or something like that. And my multiples for when I pay that much for a book, it is a little all over the board on what I personally like to shoot for, but for me, at the same time, I do like to sell those higher-end books. Those higher-end books are really just what really keeps my doors open, if you will. They really allow me to make a good amount of money for the amount of labor I put in. Honestly, when we are selling books that are a few $100s, think about how much you're making on an hourly for that. It's like, okay, so I bought this book, took about 5 minutes to purchase it, let's say a half hour to purchase it, something like that. Took me a half hour to take the photos and list it. That's taking a little bit longer than usual, but we're giving ourselves some leeway. But let's just say you put in a whole hour of work and then you drop it off. Let's say dropping it off and shipping it takes another hour for some unholy reason, but let's just say you have 2 hours into this high-end book. If you are selling this high-end book for like $600 or something like that, that's $300 an hour. And okay, let's take away your expenses. There's shipping. For me, I just sold an expensive set and I had the buyer pay shipping, so I'm not going to include that. But there are eBay fees, and eBay did take a big chunk out of this recent sale that I had. I'm going to go over that in another video, but they did take a big chunk out of this recent sale. So that's an expense. I only ended up walking away with, say, like about $550-ish, $520-ish, somewhere in there. But let's just go off of just $500. That's still $250 an hour for your labor. That sounds like good money to me. I don't know. I mean, I don't know many friends of mine that make $250 an hour. And guys, of course, you're not going to get sales like this every single day. You're not going to get sales like this every single week. You might not get sales like this every year even. Like some of us, we go long, dry periods of not having great sales, but those few great sales that you have, it really gets your emotions going, you know? It makes you love doing your antique book business again. It gets you excited, and it really lets you know, okay, this is not just some sort of side hustle. This is an actual legitimate business I can actually make good money on. So for me, guys, I am not afraid to swing for the fences with a lot of the books that I have. I actually have purchased and sold quite a few books that are worth $500 plus. A couple of them are over $1,000. That is something that I love doing. That is something I try to look for whenever I go to these sales. But of course, it's not something that I get every single time. In fact, I would say the number of books that I get usually, depending on some places I go, I will find some books that are worth a lot more than others. But usually, I end up finding these really expensive multi-$100 books about 1% of the time, maybe 0.5% of the time. It is very rare for me to find books that are worth over $500. That being said, just rough numbers again, I would say the odds of me finding books that are worth $100 or more, I would say that happens about 20% of the time with where I look, how I look, that sort of stuff. And yeah, I know 20% of the time that sounds pretty high, and it is rather high, and it's even higher when the economy's doing great and that sort of stuff, because let's face it, when the economy's doing great, people have money to burn. When people have money to burn, they'll spend at least some of it on old books, and those old books, guys, they can have their value increase a whole lot. I'm going to do a video on that in the future. But with that said and done, though, guys, I try to swing for the fences as often as I can, and if I can't swing for the fences, I try to swing for those $100 books. But let's face it, even then, you can't always find the $100 books. So I am more than happy to buy books that I know I can make, say, $20 on, $40 on, something like that. When I'm doing my business completely how I love doing it the most, I like to buy books with a floor of $45 that I can sell the book for as the floor. Of course, I do sell some books that are lower than that, and of course, I definitely sell ones that are higher than that. But guys, when you do this business, you can sort of mix and match and do what you want to do. But I do want to encourage you guys to don't be afraid of those really, really big sales. Now, I do want to caveat that with, if you're a brand spanking new store and you have 0 reviews, maybe hold off on listing that really cool book, unless if you have a lot of money sunk into it, then it might be worth doing. But it might be best to get, say, a dozen reviews or ratings or feedbacks. There we go, feedbacks for eBay on your store, because people that are going to spend, say, $1,000 on a book, they might not trust you if you have 0 reviews. Whereas if you have a dozen, it's like, oh, okay, this guy's just starting out. Looks like he's doing good based on these reviews. Yeah, I'll buy from him. That is something that I personally would recommend. That is something that I personally did for my own bookstore, because remember, I've mentioned in other videos, guys, that I had my first edition of The Time Machine. I actually just got another first edition of H.G. Wells, so I'm excited about that. Not worth as much as The Time Machine, but still cool. But guys, I personally waited to have that book sell until I had a few more ratings on my eBay store, because, guys, I was brand spanking new when I did that. I mean, I want to say it was my second month or something like that. And when you get a book that is worth tens of thousands of dollars and it's your second month, that doesn't really equate very well. So I did wait for a few more sales to come in and a few more feedbacks to come in before I was like, okay, now I'm ready to list this. Let's do this. Let's kick some booty. And no, I did not charge tens of thousands of dollars for it. I only charged a few thousand, I believe, but it's fine. 6,000 is what I think I sold it for. But with that said and done, though, guys, I hope this was helpful. I hope it encouraged you guys to not be afraid to first off dream. Guys, we're doing businesses. We're in America. Well, not all of us are in America, but for those of us who are, and those of us who think American at least, you know that you can dream, you can achieve. There are bigger and better things out there, and as such, don't be afraid to swing for the fences. When you swing for the fences, sometimes you'll swing and you'll strike out. Other times you'll swing, you'll get a single, you'll get a double, you'll get a triple. Other times, guys, you'll get that home run, and you will feel so stinking happy. And let's face it, at the same time, last I checked, getting a single is still pretty good. I mean, I believe it was Wade Boggs. He was a guy who was known for just always getting at least on base, you know? He wasn't just swinging for home runs. He was always swinging for something, and he ended up making it into the Hall of Fame. I'm not a big baseball guy, but I have heard that one. So with that said, though, guys, sometimes it's worth swinging for everything. I would personally say swinging for everything is a lot more work. However, it does help you stay in business. Swinging just for home runs, that's a basically guaranteed way to make sure that you don't ever grow too big. I mean, especially if you're thinking about from the standpoint of a buyer. If you have a store with 0 reviews and you have 5,000 books that are worth $5,000 each, that might seem a little fishy. So as such, maybe you should swing for some other things, but do not be afraid to swing for the fences, and do not be afraid to have those really expensive, really neat books. So with that said and done, though, guys, I hope this video was helpful. I hope it was encouraging, and I will see you guys in the next one.